Wow, great. Oh, fantastic. I love that.
Thank you, thank you. So oftentimes, guys, these conversations regarding the challenges facing Africa designers are all, you know, the topic is always going to be here. It's always going to be touching on some very sensitive issues. And so one of the things that always hold us together across the continent of Africa is music, dance, food, or culture. And music and dance is a very important part of it, especially when you have to deal with very difficult things. It could be from dealing with talking about politics to bereavement. Music is one of the things that lift everyone's mood and make it much more easier for people to stomach and be able to have a much more easier transition in talking about sensitive topics. So I wanted to play that music, that video, just to, from our friends at UNICEF, just to show that here on this panel, we have incredible people who've done incredible work in their respective industries. And what they have all come here together to do today is to really show that through a collective effort and serious passion and serious dedication, we can start discussing, but also making some strides into making very important changes across Africa. Changes that already started to happen, but I wanted, Africa Fashion Week London wanted to really show our effort in trying to continue all the efforts that have been made so far and the discussion that needs to continue to happen, especially during this crisis with COVID-19. So before I go into much more about the actual session, I want to really take this opportunity to introduce each and every single panelist here who are very important in being part of this discussion. We will start with the iconic fashion designer, Mr. Alphadi. I won't go into details. I will leave it to him to go into details. So please, Mr. Alphadi, please proceed.
Thank you. Thank you so much. So happy to be with you, and so happy and the honor for your invitation. And this kind of thing to be together is really honor to see Africa together, like you make Africa, Mama Africa, and Africa with everyone, and Africa for the world. Africa in fashion, Africa in thing, Africa in culture, that you do it today. Maybe we are some older, but you are younger, and we are very proud. Really, I'm very proud to be part of this panel and to talk about fashion and fashion industry. Thank you for the invitation. God bless you all. Thanks so much.
Thank you so much, Mr. Alphadi. And we have, guys, we have someone who is so incredibly special here also, who's done some incredible work. You will hear more about his work, but I will leave it to him now to introduce himself. The master, George Adesegun. Please introduce yourself.
Hello, hi.
Hi.
My name. Hello, can you hear me?
We can hear you.
Yeah.
We can hear you.
Okay, yeah. All right, introduction. That's one of the things I don't like doing about myself. But okay, my name is George Adebola Olumide Akoni Abdulmalik Adesegun. I was born in London Borough of Brent, Northwest 10, but I like to be called, to be known as, a citizen of Africa. I came back to England. I was born in London, but I grew up in Lagos, Nigeria, and spent my early years there. I came back to London in around very early 80s. I was about 18 or so. So I studied fashion. I graduated at Epsom, which is one of the prestigious fashion college that you can go to in England then in the 80s. And then later on, I went on many years later. I also then studied, to do a postgraduate in fashion footwear. Oh, at Epsom, I went to, which is part of the UCA University, and then went down to Cordwainers to then study fashion footwear design, which is part of the UAL. University. That's part of Central St. Martin, London of Fashion and all that. And then many years later, about 20 odd years later after that again, I then went back again and then studied for another master's, and a master's in printed textile for fashion and interior design, an MA at UCA, Rochester. So you can call me fashion, footwear designer, and textile, all discipline. After graduating from EPSIM, I work, in industry, usually for Pepe, and then moved to French Connection. And by 1991, I started my own label with the help of, I was given an award, Prince Youth Business Trust. Then I work on my label and also freelance for different companies, freelance for designers like Frank Hovers, which is in Amsterdam, it's Chora, which taught me a lot of things. And went to LA Gear, I went to Italy, went to, different parts of the world, New York, and then came back again. And after, I started having my kids and all that, obviously I have to cut down the traveling because I'm like a hands-on dad. I like to be there for my, to be part of it. So later on in the 90s and so towards the 20s, I then started a ready-to-wear with my couture line. And then, the rest is history. And over almost 10 years now, almost 10 years now, I moved away from London to Lincolnshire. So I'm in East Midland of London, of England, if anybody knows that part of the world. So, so that's what I'm doing now, and I'm hoping, especially with this opportunity. Many people in the industry knows me. I work in the industry behind closed doors and things. I don't like, publicity, so that's why more people don't know about me. But people in the industry knows me, but I just feel that this time I need to come out and say hello to everybody.
Thank you, George. And guys, when I tell you, when George said that he works behind the scene, that is really his preference. But I've been pulling him out, and it's been, thank goodness he's been very receptive. And when he said that he knows people in the industry, he knows everybody in the industry. I will tell you more about that a little bit more. I've gotten his approval to give him some limelight, and so this is not something that he's really comfortable in doing. But thank you so much, George, for allowing us to share your platform. It really means a lot to us too. And I will also shed a little bit more light on Mr. Alphadi, who, his history is just incredible. But in moving forward, I'd like to also introduce you guys to one of the most incredible fashion creators and stylists in Africa, based in Nigeria. The one, the only, Style Infidel, Mr. Oluwatosin. Please introduce yourself. Tell us a little bit more, how long you've been in the industry, and just tell us more about how you feel about being part of this panel.
Thank you so much, Michael. I am super excited to be here. I'm super humbled to be here as well. I think it's my 10th year in the industry. It's my 10th year in the industry. I started out as a fashion intern at a Rise Fashion Week, and morphed out into fashion journalism. And then as time went on, I go into styling. But styling had always been like the basis of my foundation. I graduated from Obafemi Awolowo University in Ile-Ife, studied philosophy. And that in a way has helped reform my mind. Philosophy in a way has helped reform my mind. And then dabbling into fashion just kept my mind really open and really willing to explore the world. I've done a couple of gigs for about 3-4 years now. I've been laced with the responsibility as head stylist at GT Bank Fashion Weekend. I'm a stylist to a lot of big designers here in Lagos, Nigeria. I've done shows outside Lagos. I've done shows outside Nigeria. I think that's about it. I'm a very simple person. I'm super excited about the growth of fashion in Africa, in Nigeria, as in Africa as a whole. And I'm like I said, I'm very excited to be here today. Thank you so much for the platform. Thank you for the opportunity. It's really nice meeting you, Mr. George. It's nice meeting you, Alphadi. I have always loved Pepper for like the longest time. So I'm super excited to see her here. I love her so, so much. One of the few people I respect in the industry. Yes. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Tosin. I know our friend Yoanna. She's having some internet connections, guys. She's in Lagos also, and it seemed like her that she just went off. Pepper, can you hear us? So she's not here. But what I would like to do then, until Pepper reconnects, is tell you a little bit more about Mr. Alphadi, who, I mean, he's been in the industry over 40-something years, guys.
Wow.
He runs one of the largest international, actually not the one, he's the largest international fashion festivals in the world. Acronym is FEMA. He started his business, he studied in Paris. Initially, when he started his business, he did not want to study. Well, he always had a desire for the creative industry and fashion. And initially, he did not go to study fashion, but he studied. But tell us about that, Mr. Alphadi. How when you
exactly
started?
when I started, my parents sent me in Paris to go to study tourism, and I studied tourism, and I have my master and my doctorate in tourism. And when I was in France, I said I can't only study tourism because I love fashion and I love that's creativity things in my mind. And Paco Rabanne and Yves Saint Laurent said me, and they talked to me like a brother, and they help me. All the fashion show they make in Paris, I am with them. All the top models, they are my friend. That's what I'm in Paris to study tourism. And when I go back home, the thing is my parents don't like me to do fashion. We were Muslim. They think fashion is like something crazy. They don't know fashion is an industry. And the thing is like when I worked 7 years in tourism, like director of tourism of Niger. And one day I said to them, I can't stay there because I don't like this work. I want really do my work in fashion, textile. And I go see in Mali, one amazing designer, his name Chris Seydou. Chris Seydou, he's died in 1994. And before he's an amazing designer in Paris. And we work together on textile. And I make my first fashion show, not with Chris Seydou, but in Paris with a big nightclub in 1983. Yeah, 1983. That's when I beginning really to make fashion. And I have my diploma, and also I make my doctorate to finish in the tourism. You know, me, I born in Timbuktu. That is the old Africa. Timbuktu is like, and now I'm confined here in Mali. And you call me to talk about fashion here in Mali. I can't believe that is the African Union. And that's African creativity in African fashion. When I came in Niger, when I make Alphadi label in 1983, like for 39, 37 years now to make fashion, they don't understand me. They want to kill me 2 times, 3 times, because they said me, why you promote women and we are Muslim, and you said you make fashion industry to promote this kind of things in our country. I have plenty amazing things, but fantastic things also. My work is like to make collection for the president wives. That's when I beginning with that 35 years ago. And after that, all the first ladies call Alphadi to make Alphadi collection. And I beginning 22 years ago to make my festival. He called it FEMA, 22 years ago. And the last one is in Niger, but the very big one, we make it in Morocco. The king of Morocco called me and he said me, we love Africa and we want to really get African designer to be together for United Africa, for fashion and for this industry, you know. And I try to make my work for all the young people, because in this festival, I invited all the young designer, 300 designers through the Africa, and we make concours for them, and we get the 10 best one. We pay the ticket for them. They came in Niger, they came in Morocco too, and we give them diploma for the best. We give them money and we help them. We make the same thing also for the top models, because we want to make Africa top models too, to become the nice top models and top models in the world, because top model is very interesting, male and female. That is we make showcase between the industrial, the money man, the financial and fashion designer, and we put after that 10 years ago we begin to put a painting and interior decoration inside for this festival, you know. And also I go to see all the banker, all the big financial men, and the country tell them, no, Africa, we can't alone to make this industry to grow. That's why in 1994, Chris Seydu died, and they make me president of African Federation in Ghana, Accra. That's
so Alphadi, well, you know,
yeah.
I appreciate you mentioned that, because we will definitely segue into all of that you're talking about in terms of the fashion federation that does exist. You already mentioned about some obstacles regarding you being, you know, remember today the discussions about challenges facing African designers, and we'll be talking about lots of different things, including some of the personal challenges that one might have, say if you're a Muslim designer per se, and the challenges, especially as a male designer, and what that the sort of obstacles that you might have at home. But what I will also want to add is that the fact that Mr. Alphadi is, you know, when you think of, and by the way, this is for Mr. Alphadi and for George Adesegun. These are gentlemen who rub shoulders with the highest and the biggest fashion houses in the world. They really do. And what has been amazing about these gentlemen is that truly they have, when we contacted them, their readiness in saying, of course, I want to be part of that, because guess what? What I've been trying to do all this time is to do the work in promoting all of Africa. And that is really incredible. So I'm really so thrilled that we, Africa Fashion Week London, on behalf of Princess Ronke Ademeluwe, who's the founder, is thrilled to have this lineup of panelists. It's just been incredible. As again, audience, we have one more panelist who's having internet connection at home. Her name is Yoanna. She is the founder of the Assembly Hub. And the Assembly Hub is one of those incredible platforms based in Nigeria, in Lagos, Nigeria, that brings creatives from people from across the creative industry together in nurturing them to be entrepreneurs, to be much more involved in their communities, in educating them how to improve and strengthen their brands. The Assembly Hub work with the biggest names across Nigeria. And one of our panelists, the Style Infidel himself, Tosin here, could vouch for that, because as he said earlier, that Yoanna is one of the people that he respects in the industry because he sees the work. Is that correct, Tosin?
You're very correct. You're very,
Fantastic.
very correct. She's very professional, very seasoned in her craft, and she carries everybody along. You know how catty fashion can be?
Yeah.
Yoanna isn't one of those catty people. She's very hands-on, and she loves to see people grow.
Thank you.
That's
yes.
So eventually you will see Yoanna pop back in, guys, and she's an amazing person. I met Yoanna. Well, we spoke on the phone, but I was introduced to the Assembly Hub when I was working at my previous job, and they were doing some joint work with the British Council, which is one of those international platforms that does a lot in terms of supporting young, emerging, and emerging creatives across Africa. and we work very closely with the British Council also. But in order to set, so I showed you guys the video. For those of you who came in late, you didn't get to see the video, but you will, once you go back, after the web talk is finished, you get to watch the recording and you'll see the video that I'm talking about. But now, in order to give you much more structure into what the discussion will be, allow me to share my screen just for a split second again. This. So there are 3 circles there, guys. The title again of this web talk series is Challenges of African Designers. And there are 3 circles there. One, you notice that there are different sizes also. You have the international circle, which is huge. You have the government circle, and you have the local industry. Now from there, I will go back to, did you guys get to see the circle just now?
No.
No? Okay,
Nope.
bear with me 1 second, sorry.
No.
I thought you guys saw that, bear with me 1 second. There, are you all seeing the circle now?
Yeah.
Okay.
Right, so there are 3 circles there. Notice that they have different sizes also. We have international, government, and local industry. This afternoon's discussion will be looking at the challenges facing African designers within these big circles and how they are interconnected. And having this discussion today, having the panelists today, they all know exactly how these circles are interconnected, and we will break that down a little further. So, in coming to all of you guys, I wanted to ask you, let's start with at the local level first, at home. George, I know you live in London, but you do a lot of work across the continent also. You're always traveling. So I would like to ask, start with you, Monsieur Alphadi, about the challenges that you found as iconic as you are. Tell us about what you perceive as some of the challenges that you think designers face in Africa.
Yeah, you know, Africa. I opened my shop festival in New York, in Brooklyn. After that, I opened my shop also in Paris. I opened my first shop in Paris because I'm in Africa. All the production, I make it in Africa. And I sell my product in New York, in Abidjan. I have maybe 10 boutiques through the Africa, but I never opened shop in Africa Anglophone. I opened my shop only in Africa, Francophone and Arabophone, like Morocco. And Africa, they have, the problem is really the understanding for fashion is not really, they don't understand fashion is an industry. That's the problem we have with the politician. The problem we have also with the financial, like with the bank. They don't understand fashion is like the motives can help Africa to grow, and fashion is really something incredible we're supposed to help Africa.
Internet connection. This is, you there, Mr. Alphadi? Okay.
They come with me. They don't understand really what fashion can help. That is what we fight with them all the time. The problem you have in Africa is maybe Nigeria. They're beginning really to understand. I don't know the way with politicians, with the bank in Nigeria or in Ghana, I don't know the way. But in our part of Africa, like Senegal, like Mali, like Niger, we fight all the day. But no problem for that. We promote all the day. Maybe I have maybe now 400 years, we try to promote fashion, textile, jewelry, and fashion industry. They understand, but really we need more younger person to be together with our federation we create. This federation is bigger because in Africa. You know, Africa Federation is bigger than one country federation. If you have federation of Nigeria alone, or federation of Nigeria alone, or federation is Ghana, but we have Africa Federation. To be together is very interesting. We make it. Yeah.
Mr. Alphadi, you mentioned about the that there's an actual fashion federation in Africa already.
Exactly. I talk about
Where is it based? Where is it based? Can you tell us where this is based?
When we make this Africa, we make the creation for the federation in Accra, okay, in 1994. After that, we make our bureau in Côte d'Ivoire, okay? But this federation, I'm the Chris Seydu was the owner. He died, and they nominate me, Alphadi, like president. And we talk, we make plenty things together. But Africa is so big, and the things is we don't understand really what this federation can do. And the one president of Senegal give us the land to say to me, come build your house for your federation here in Senegal. We give you the land. The thing is, we don't have the notoriety we're supposed to do. We don't have the person who's supposed to be with us. That's why this federation no go more and more. Plenty die. Katusha, she's died. Kofi Ansah from Ghana, he's died. She's named in Togo, she's named fashion designer also, she's died. And the thing is, Michael Kra, he's here. We have some, he's in life, some is died. But now we want to really, 2 years ago in Morocco, we want to make big conference for that and to call all, in my festival, to call all the designer with, my English is so bad. We understand what I say?
Yes, your English is very good. Can you all, I think we can all understand you perfectly fine, Mr. Alphadi.
Yeah, voilà. That is, I can speak more in French than English, but I'm so happy to speak English. That's good for me too. And this federation is supposed to be nice. We have our personnel is in Abidjan. She's named Khadija Lo. She's my secretary general. He's Khadija. She's in life. She's small, old, but she's in life. And we have all the documentation. We have the bureau, but the bureau is not open, it's closed. And that is we are going to do more and more operation to make in life this federation with the young designer like you, like other person. One designer from Ghana. He based in London too. I see him in Kigali 1 year ago. He's designer for men clothing. What is his name?
Yeah, also Boateng?
He's in London. One designer from Ghana. He makes men clothing.
Boateng.
Boateng. Oswald Boateng. Write to me this time. He want to be part of this federation. Long time. I see him in Kigali. We talk about that. I said, okay, we are going to prepare ourselves for that. I'm here in Mali for this one too, because in Mali I have now big man. He have money. He want to put money in industry of fashion. Now we are going to try to really to join our force together and really our work we do it. And now we open the door for the young designer. And in Europe, in America, in Africa, and certainly in Africa, they know how it's fashion in Africa now. They make small festival everywhere in Africa, small fashion week everywhere in Africa. All this one they copy and they do with me. They invited me. I go to support them. The thing is really, we can do it, but we're supposed to do it with force, with professionally. We can do the things like, I want to do fashion week. I want to do a fashion show, and like this, no buyers, no financial men to come to help them. That is, we are going to make together now to make this industry truly and to make for the production. We want to get really this way to make our production in Africa, in Ghana, in Nigeria, in Niger, in Mali for textile, maybe for the production for the collection we can make. And all the things is organization. You know, the politician no give us chance to make this organization, but the politician don't know how is fashion and how is fashion industry. They promote.
Sorry to interrupt you. Yes, we will definitely be getting into the discussion regarding from the governmental side of things, because what I really wanted to for everyone to hear that there is an actual fashion federation that already exists. I've been following a lot of discussion that's been happening on regarding the fashion industry in Africa during this corona virus. And one of the things that always comes up, oh, there should be a federation, there should be a federation. So ladies and gentlemen, for all of you tuned in on Facebook, please share this with all the other fashion weeks and fashion events around, that there is a federation, and we will talk a little bit more about the federation in just a bit. But before I continue, we have joining us again, Yoanna Pepper Chikezie, the founder of the Assembly Hub. I was talking a little bit more, a little bit about you, Yoanna. So please introduce yourself to our audience, please.
Thank you so much, Michael, and apologies. The internet decided this was the time to show me up. But I am really happy to be here. Thank you so much for inviting me. I have been a big fan of Alphadi right back in my fashion editor days, at Fab Magazine and Pride. So I'm really honored to be here. And Tosin is a great friend of the Assembly. And it's a big pleasure to also to meet you, George. And I'm going to be listening to just hear about what everyone has been up to. So like just as Michael said, I'm the founder of the Assembly Hub. We're a platform that supports young fashion entrepreneurs and creatives.
Yes.
We've been running for about 4 years now, and really for us, we're really a support system to support the upscaling and the upskilling of creatives. How do they create value from their talents? How do they create value from their skills? And how do they get access to opportunities? So that's what we do day in, day out, and I'm really happy to be here. Thank you.
Thank you, Yoanna. Thank you. And going back to the question, I'd posed the question to the whole panel, and I asked Mr. Alphadi to start about what do you, and we looked at the 3 circles. Did you get to see the 3 circles that we talked about? Where?
No.
So the 3 circles are, there's the international circle, which is much bigger. Then there's the government circle, and then there's the local fashion industry. That's quite small. That's just the perception, guys. Those circles actually are not that size, but that is the perception that oftentimes people in the industry and the general public might have of what it is in terms of the fashion industry in Africa, not understanding the value. And so with all of you, all 4 of you, you understand exactly what that value is. So the question I'd posed, the first question I posed was, what do you see as some of the local issues facing African designers today? Oluwatosin, the Style Infidel, can you tell us, can you give us some your feedback on that?
Okay. Once again, thank you very much for having me here. It's such a pleasure to be here with Mr. Alphadi, George, and Yoanna, that I love so much and I respect so much. I always like to say that. Yoanna, it's great to have you back. Okay, so because I get to work with a lot of designers, established, bourgeoisie, budding, I think one thing I've realized is it starts with the designers. It starts with the designers themselves.
Tell us more.
Yes, focus is very important in this business. We get that when you're starting out, you literally just want to dabble and take chances and take risks. But with the advent of the COVID, there is really no time to do that. You need to get your board straight. A lot of young designers don't really know what they want to do. They want to be designers because it's the closest thing to being cool, or it's the closest thing to getting you fame. So like I said, it starts with the designers themselves. If you sit 5 to 6 designers down and ask them simple questions like, what is your aesthetic as a designer? You'll be shocked they really don't know.
That's true.
Right.
Until we can really clean up and tidy these inner intentions as to why you're a designer or you're coming into the fashion business or the fashion industry, because they're 2 different things entirely. Till you can clear your mind and have a deeper understanding of why you are in this industry and in this business, we'll keep going around in circles. We'll keep going around in circles. The African designer's problem is the designer themselves.
Yes.
especially the starting, especially the ones that are just starting. I'm taking Lagos using Lagos as my reference. A lot of people feel being a designer is the closest thing to being cool, the closest thing to being popular, the closest thing to getting you on blogs, the closest thing to making you feel like you're in a certain space. But first and foremost, it's a business. And then whatever comes with it, fine. So till we're able to reorientate people as to what this business is really about, even if you offer them funds and grants and loans, you'll be shocked how they would really mess it up. So it comes down to who the African designer is and what their problem really is. So if we can't tidy that, I doubt if we can actually really move forward with this whole idea of creating a new niche or creating a new orientation for the African designers. We are a problem.
Right.
We are our problem. And that's why a lot of times financial institutions would rather give an established name that has been in the industry for decades or for years over someone who is just starting.
That's true.
Because they really don't know why you're in business.
Mm.
Yes.
You haven't even defined why you're in business.
Well,
Right.
the thing is, they don't know fashion is the industry.
Yes. I want to ask you that, George, while you are such an accomplished designer, and your versatility as a fashion designer, as a shoe designer, as a jewelry designer, you also do a lot of mentoring also in your own right. Very much working with with the University of Arts, which is part of the Central Fair Market, which is one of the most respected fashion and creative academic institutions in the world. What do you perceive as some of the challenges facing African designers? Because you also work a lot on the continent. Do you mind telling us your view on that, please?
Thanks for having me on, Mike. This same problem that you were asking, that Tosin also mentioned regarding the African designers, without focusing on actually knowing exactly about the ethics, what kind of things that they needs to focus on, and all that kind of things. It's the same problem if you're an academic, or people that, especially if you study art or study designs and all that, that was being asked, or that they were being discussed in 1920. In the 1920s, 1926, I believe, by the by the Harlem Renaissance, which they were also saying that for Black Americans, or Negro artists, they called them in those days, that for them, they need to find a way to be able to identify whether they are poets, whether they are artists, to be able to determine exactly who you are. Whatever you are, it needs to transfer into your art form. I'll give you an example. If I live in Brixton, in London, and I am an artist, my aesthetics, what drives me, I know what is going on, and I'm a Black man, I know what is going on in Brixton and how the social deprivations and everything and all that. So it needs to reflect in my work. I can't say I am trying to look up to somebody that inspires me, that somebody that is an artist in Iceland, that that only just designs. What inspires him is the designs, and draws things like the Alps, mountains and all that, because it's totally different from you. We Africans, we don't even know how lucky we are. We have one of the, I would say the best, the richest culture. That needs to reflect on you. It won't take nothing away from you, but it makes you unique. So if you are an artist, whether you're a fashion designer, whether you are a painter, whether you are, no matter what, you need to actually focus on who you are, especially within the culture, and interpret that within your work. That is what we can sell to the world. We package it and we sell it. If you look at, for example, during the early 20s, the same time as well, people like Picasso were struggling to get to have a direction. Until when they start seeing the Festival of African Arts in the early 20s, which they shows bring lots of masks and lots of different things from different parts of the African world. That is what actually inspires them as the Cubism. That's why when you look at Picasso, the Cubism in a certain way, they then call it, the primitive arts, because it's our art form. When all these marks as well, that when we look at it as well, because it's part of our culture, we didn't look at it as art because we use it for ceremonial things, festival, different ceremonies and all that kind of things. But when they take it, obviously, through that, there's lots of meaning in them. So, as Tony, is it Tosin?
Tosin.
As Tosin mentions, that most of these African designers, that then they don't have a focus, or they don't know exactly why they are in fashion. I'll tell them one thing. I went to fashion institution, in Europe, in England, and went to, the best, or one of the very best in the world. Most of the institution that is, that I went to. And I'll tell you, whether you're doing architecture, or you're doing, ceramics, or you're doing fine arts, for the first 2 years, you do nothing else than, draw and also, learn a lot of things about art, African art. There's quite a lot within the story, within the, history of art. There is loads that you cover. That's why you find that lots of the artists, they have more knowledge of African art, because it's really rich in creativity.
That's what we do.
So,
Exactly.
and I think that's what we need to look into. That's, as one of the reasons why I decided to come out and talk and all that. And I'm saying, look, in this country alone, I'll just only say the UK, apart from NHS, fashion is the biggest industry with over 6 billion revenue. Africa are so rich that they don't understand how they could tap into this market. It's a big, huge market around the world. Africa, let's talk about even just manufacturing in Africa. It's the closest to Europe and everywhere, to distributions and all that. Africa's supposed to be a hub of manufacturing. We have everything. The best cotton in in the world that you can use, Egyptian cotton, is grown in Africa. We are blessed with so many things.
Mm.
We have lots of creative people, designers, that they could do lots of work. And I've met lots of them in Paris, in New York, and they are trying, lots of everybody. I will come home tomorrow if I get an invitation. I would just send me an invitation and a plane ticket. There are lots of designers that they would actually, I'll tell you, when you look at, for example, Cordwainers, which is part of the, UAL, that, they produce lots of designers around the world. Clark shoes and all that. There's about 70% of the people that works in Clark shoes, New Balance and all that. They produce all over the world. Now, they have Nigerians and Africans that actually studies there as well. Like when I studied, that's where Jimmy Choo studied.
Exactly.
All these people, they can come to Nigeria. We can come to them and say to someone like Nike, we want to manufacture, you can manufacture in Nigeria, and they would definitely, would do that. It will create jobs, it will create other revenues,
Yep.
and it will create a lot of, and then we can also put a lot of our aesthetics. Most of the things that we wear in Africa is not for us. You see people wearing winter jackets and all that kind of things. People need, because they just decided to just dash us anything, not what we want, from the car we drive to the clothes we wear and everything. We're supposed to be doing everything by solar energy and everything, and we're supposed to give ultimatums to the West and say, look, the next 10 years, if you don't make anything that is run by solar energy, it's not coming through the border of Africa.
Exactly.
And then we need to tell the,
that things is
we
really
need,
Stop you for a second, George. 1 second there. Just to kind of tie it all together there, guys. What we're hearing there's so many incredible valid points that George mentioned. One, the fact that the opportunities for, say, some of the big brands in developing country to go to Africa, and they're already doing that, but is whereby, in order for us to be ready, as Tosin is saying, as Mr. Alphadi is saying, that in order for us to be ready to receive that and not be taken advantage of, you have to know exactly what you're doing, understand the value, understand your value, designers, that it's important.
Exactly. And understanding is Africa together. That I'm sure, you know, I'm going to build university for fashion. We tried to make it 7 years ago in Niger. The minister or the president, they don't understand how is fashion. The fighting is very big because only we have everything in Africa. We have all the structure we can, our friend now talk about it. Africa is rich. We can do everything in Africa. We have the best of cotton, the best of jewelry, but they don't understand if fashion really can help this country to grow. The thing is really African between African. I don't know, they kill us, or they kill me. Me, I know my way, but the thing is really, we're supposed to be together, you and us. You know, we talk about this industry, Rwanda, they just make how many? 40,000 employments in leather, in shoes. They're beginning to know how fashion industry can make employment. They are going to do the same things in Ethiopia, in Rwanda, also in leather, again in textile. We know fashion industry. If the politician is with us, we can do more and more things. They're very important.
Monsieur Alphadi, pause 1 second there. And another thing that these gentlemen are mentioning that I want the audience to be aware of, the involvement of, they're referring to the contribution of the fashion industry to the economy. And you know, politicians, they respond to anything that will make their legacy looks incredible. And the state of the economy is part of that. As George mentioned earlier about the fashion contributions to the UK economy, one of the most important features to understand about this, guys, is that the creative industry in the UK is considered the most sustainable industry for the economy, even more than finance. It is much more sustainable. And this is it's the one industry that creates more job opportunities than any industry in the UK also. Especially for Black and minority ethnic groups in this country. And so one of the things that these gentlemen are discussing here, and we will come to that when we look at government, the government's involvement in regards to the challenges facing African designers, is that there needs to be a clear understanding of the value of the fashion industry in Africa, and it's tremendous. It is tremendous from financial standpoint and also from the standpoint of promotion of culture, the diverse culture of Africa. And understanding that through the fashion industry, there are lots of other industries that are interconnected, from energy to textile to tourism. There's so many different ones. Yoanna, I want to come to you and ask you the same question, because one of the things that Tosin pointed out, and the other designers have mentioned also, is that the fact that a lot of the young, especially young designers, start in the industry and are have a misunderstanding of their purpose of being in an industry and their contribution to and what they should be doing for their communities. And I know that the Assembly Hub really focuses on nurturing that sort of development, entrepreneurial spirit of the designer, and being able for them to help them sharpen exactly what their business model is, what exactly they should be focusing on. So coming to you, Yoanna, what do you perceive as some of the challenges facing African designers? And that's for emerging and established designers.
I think I definitely agree with what all my panelists have said so far. COVID-19 was becoming an issue, when we were in Nigeria, we were counting at the time around early March. You know, there wasn't a sense of an alarm because we only had, I think, 100 cases in the whole of Africa. And we were kind of watching what's happening in the US and Europe. We were very kind of clear to start speaking to our community and saying, listen, just because we're not having kind of numbers the rest of the world is having, it doesn't mean COVID-19 does not affect you. And so for us, we were really kind of clear to point out the different ways in which designers are being challenged right now. So first, when you look at the supply chain, unfortunately, it is only a handful of designers who have made it a point to say, I am going to source and produce locally. And even like that, there comes its challenges. So you do find a lot of designers, whether they're established or emerging, they are very dependent on Chinese manufacturing. They manufacture in Turkey, they manufacture in India, wherever it is that they're manufacturing. And then they're shipping back to Nigeria or to other parts to sell. And of course, when COVID hit, all those supply chains were disrupted. And so it left a number of these designers who have that reliance on foreign, international production, a really big mess, because what's going to happen to their orders, what's going to happen to their collections, etc., etc. And so that was a clear, that was a very clear challenge, in that it's now that you need to start looking inwards and seeing how you can leverage what we have locally, be that skills, be that textiles, be that the way we manufacture. Now is the time to start doing that now, because things are going to secondly, I do agree with Tosin in that a lot of designers have this rush mentality where they want to just jump into the industry because of the, you know, the flamboyance and all of that, and that's fine. But now the government have released different types of stimulus packages. So EBN has their own, and a number of other organizations have their own. But guess what? A lot of the designers, they can't access this because their house was in order. So you find that a lot of them, when it comes to their business structure, their financial planning, their cash flows, all of these really important things that make up a business, they weren't serious with it in the first place. So now they can't get access to the stimulus packages that are supposed to help SMEs. But in saying that, even the SMEs who have their houses in order still can't get access to these loans and these this government support, because the criteria is completely mismatched from what is happening in reality. And so there's a lot going on. And so even if, you know, my advice, we always advise these, you know, young designers that from the beginning, you really need to work with someone who understands business. It's not the onus on you as the creator. It's actually something that you have to outsource if you can't afford somebody in-house. But I think if this COVID-19 has taught us anything, we have to get our houses in order. It's not enough to say you're a creative. It's not enough to have followers on Instagram. If you're not running a business, you are going to get burnt quite quickly. So, so then that's one challenge. And then the other challenge is this idea that now we're no longer thinking about technology as an add-on. It has to be now digital first. So if you were someone who was maybe selling once in a while on Instagram or social media, now is the time to really get your e-commerce up and running. Look at what kind of partnerships with logistics companies. How can you get your product across the, you know, to other parts of the world? And the truth is, just like you've all said, it's about focus. If you have a focus, if you understand your customer, if you understand your product, you can actually do very well. People feel like people are not into fashion right now because people are at home, they're on Zoom, they're not dressing up. But the truth is, there's a massive market for homeware. There's a massive market for laundry. There's a massive market to look this way up, like just here upwards, there's a market there, right? Hair, beauty, all of these things. And so at the end of the day, thank you, Tosin, thank you for the encouragement. But like, at the end of the day, once it's very clear, you can actually scale through COVID-19. But in saying that, like, I'm having issues with my internet today. So that's where government needs to come in, and all of these big corporations need to come in. How do we democratize technology? How do we democratize the internet so that these young designers and all of these people who make up the economy can actually try and go through this period?
Yes.
So it's like a chicken and egg situation, I find, with fashion industry. These are the things, you know, the fashion industry as a whole really needs to understand. And then now you're saying, okay, I have my e-commerce, I have my product, and I have people who want to purchase from me and ship wherever they are in the world. Now it's a regulations in order. So before, people used to, you know, make something anyhow. There's no standards, there's no certification. You know, you're shipping, maybe you're sending, you know, your friends in a suitcase and they go to London, and you know, you think that's business, but for the long term, it's not going to be scalable. Now we have a health crisis now. So very soon, when things start to settle down, I do see governments and trade is going to be a massive issue when it comes to health and safety. Whether it's your products, whether it's face masks, whatever it is that you're producing, PPE, health and safety is going to be a massive concern for a lot of people. So this is a challenge where designers need to understand their value chain and understand their industry and where their product sits in the value chain, and get all the right certifications to saying, this is my USP, this is the product, and it can go anywhere in the world because I've met these, I meet these standards. So these are things we're trying to encourage designers in our community to do. And then again, when you're looking at like even like the face mask issue, the government a couple of weeks ago, when the lockdown happened in Lagos, they said, okay, everybody can go out. This is the curfew, but you now need to wear face masks. So everybody make face masks. And it's like everybody from your mom, your grandma, to your cat, your dog is making face masks. But then what is the collective standard? What is the standard? What are we supposed to be making? So it's great that they said that people can now wear cloth face masks it's not going to prevent COVID-19 affecting you, but it's going to, you know, be a preventative measure. The government haven't really said this is what needs to be produced in line of a regulation or a standard. And so we're now having all kinds of products in the market, and people are desperate, of course. They're going to purchase these things, and anyone with a sewing machine is going to try and make a face mask because they need some income. So the government need to, there needs to be a dialogue and a real dialogue. Otherwise, we're really going to be in a big situation. I think now
I'm going to have you pause for a second regarding the government, because that's so important. But what I want to do also is just refresh some of the things that you mentioned. That's very, very important in terms of challenges facing designers, young and established, emerging, or people who've been in the industry for a long time. You mentioned something that's very, very important. Oftentimes, even the designers in Africa, audience, those tuning in, hear this, most of it, as Yoanna pointed out, quite a few of them, if not the majority of them, were actually outsourcing. They were actually importing their supplies, not getting their supplies locally, which is where, as Ms. Alphadi mentioned, that we have reminded us that we have everything in Africa. Why do you feel like you need to go to China? Because it's cheaper. But guess what? If you're doing that, then you don't get to help to develop your actual community and really change the you know, that perception and of what it is in terms of the value and quality that comes out of Africa. Because one thing we know about lots of the materials and supplies that comes from outside is that they've watered down the quality of it. It's not as strong. We have, because of what we have here in Africa, it is rich, it is raw, it is authentic. And this is why you have some of the big houses, fashion houses that come to Africa to come and take what is there. But again, that responsibility falls also in our custodians, i.e. our government. Yoanna also mentioned about it's how very important it is to ensure that your business is in order. Make sure that you have the right certification. Ensure that your business plan and your business model is up to scratch and according to what the government requires it to be. Otherwise, you won't get the funding, the stimulus, be able to get the release fund from the government that's available. Even though at times, as she mentioned, it can be quite complicated in getting that. But nevertheless, if you don't have that in order, it definitely diminishes the chance of you getting any sort of funding. Very, very important. And you also talked about, how important, again, that just certification, just ensuring that things are done properly, guys. You mentioned about e-commerce, and I want to come to George about e-commerce, because George and I, again, these two incredible, George and Mr. Alphadi, who have been in the upper echelons, operating in Paris, London, Milan, the high end of fashion industry. They were so forthcoming in wanting to be part of this this discussion today. And one of the things that George and I discussed was about e-commerce. So George, tell us about that in terms of, in piggybacking what Yoanna mentioned about the need for designers across Africa to embrace e-commerce. Tell us about that some more, George.
All right. One of the first things that we have to look at, in every disaster, there's always a reason and things. So we have to take up, you have to take advantage of it. This COVID-19 and all that, it's caused a lot of heartache for a lot of people, but it's also, for us, in a way, it's an opportunity to bridge a gap. And also it's a good opportunity as well for us to look, and then especially within the technology and all that, most of the designers, I say fashion designer, people like me and all that, we have ideas, we have everything, but we don't have the technology on how. So this is an opportunity that we need to merge and then come. That's why I say, like, people like me, we need to go to somewhere like in Africa and then work with people that the designers in Africa and also technology. This is where African can take a leap within that. We have, that's why I mentioned earlier, things like, for example, the solar power energy and all that kind of things. Okay, I will say this, in somewhere like here, people pay people like me to come out with ideas. What's the next thing? What's going to go ahead? How are we going? And all that kind of things. For somewhere like in Africa and all that kind of things, as Yoanna says, like the e-commerce and all that kind of things, we need to make sure that, especially things like, for example, sunglasses. With designing sunglasses, work a designer like me would design that. Work with some of these technology people that within that they can make, and then work with them with the idea that they will have to make it that it will collect, the sunlight energy during the day, and then during the evening you can use it to charge battery, you can use it to charge your laptop, you can use it in certain way. So those are the kind of things that you can, and also with that kind of technology, if we invest in first, you can package it, you can also hone it. And if someone like Nike or some of these Adidas, they want to come in, they have to pay into it. So those are the kind of things that in certain way, it's not just follow. At present, we are following fashion in Africa that is being, designed and things. If someone like me design for someone like, let's say from Adidas and other kind of things, by the time it gets into production, by the time it gets into the market, it's been designed well over about 5 years. So, and then when you go to people like in Africa, you're saying you want to follow things that people have done and moved on. So you need to.
In terms of trying to bring, when you have those people in Africa doing these incredible things, designs all these wonderful things, and making sure that they get it out there first. Get it out there first, because if you don't get it out there first, like you said, it can be dated by the time it actually gets to the market. Now, how important is e-commerce in making that happen now, in technology, in the marketing and sale of such goods? How important is that in making sure that you are not dated by the time your goods get to the market?
At this present time, with everything now, if you look at the high streets and everywhere now, with any big high street, whether it's in Europe, whether it's in Africa and all that, high street is dead. So the only other way is to find another way how you can make your product and you can sell your product online. So, hello?
Yes.
Oh, you're gone. Oh, okay. So things like, for example, as I mentioned earlier, with you and some friends and all that, is that designers needs to come, right now, there's the collaboration between designers, collaborations within different other spectrums that they can help the designers to come out with all these things. If designers, for example, most of the designers, majority of designers that I know, they're not business suave. They are very, very creative, people that are very, very creative. So that is why when they need help. So at this present time, that help needs to come out within maybe a body like Yoanna's, body in certain way. They need to put people together. People need to work together. Even for example, designer for similar, similar kind of interest. Instead of one person get a studio, they can be about 4 and share a studio together. We share the burdens. That's the only way that people can move on right now. So because right now, the economy is going to demand all the discarded goods beforehand. It's going to be smart buying, smart technology. Textile is going to, fashion is dead. Textile and other areas of technology are what is going to be setting the trend. It's not the other way that is fashion is going to set the trend. So in that case, people have to have a reason for want something, and your clothes or whatever you want, it has to do more for you rather than. So we have to design something like design a leggings that someone can use in the gym. It monitors your temperature. It monitors, kind of like your, glucose level and all that kind of things. Those are the areas that I think that we can lead. And I mean, America has got Silicon Valley. America has got Bill Gates, and they've got Joe. But Africa, we have millions. Bill Gates. We've got millions of jobs. We have, but what we call them Yahoo boys and all that kind of things. If these people are so creative within the technology, but they are misguided, we need to approach them in another way and say, look, we have to go back to somewhere like the inauguration speech of JF Kennedy, when he said in 1961, you need to ask, what can I do for my country? Rather than what can my country do for me? Yes. So at this present time, people need to say, look, if you're going on and saying you're doing this Yahoo and all that, not only just that, you are harming your country, you are not creating anything, but you can use your God-given talent. We in the fashion industry, creative industry, we need you, work with us. And let's have a situations that at the end of the day, African can lead, not follows.
That's right. George, I'm going to pause you there for a second. And it's a pity that, Yoanna, are you there? Can you hear us? Well, yes, Yoanna's here. And I'm going to, with what George is mentioning about, and just kind of reinforce what Yoanna mentioned about, making sure that in order to be able to compete, you have to ensure that whatever you're producing is of value. And right now, one thing that the COVID-19 has definitely taught everybody, that in order for you to really have any sort of chance of surviving in the industry, you have to make sure that whatever you're producing is not so much about mass production, but it is of value, it is necessary. For example, even your face mask, that is so very important. I want to also now bring it to Monsieur Alphadi, because it piggybacks on what the Assembly Hub is all about, which is about cultivating and nurturing designers to be much more business savvy and to much more aware of understanding the value of which they bring to the market and understanding what the value that they bring to the, in terms of developing Africa. So, Monsieur Alphadi, I know you mentioned about the university that you've been trying to build. And you've also talked about you being the president of the Fashion Federation in Africa and how the need for all of us to be a part of that. I want to bring it first, before we talk about the Federation, I want to talk about the university and what has been your motivation behind the university. Tell us, if you can tell us really shortly, what is the motivation behind the university?
We talk about COVID-19 today. We talk about younger. We talk about production. We talk about to give chance to Africa to grow on about fashion and University, like education, is very important in my life. And education, 10 years ago, we get the land, and we talk about our government to get university and high school of fashion and arts. But the motivation is to give chance to Africans to stay home and to make education in our country, in Africa. We don't need to go to London for study, or in Paris or in America. We can study fashion in Africa and to stay in Africa. And our motivation is also education and employment. That's like we work with the World Bank and we work with our government also for that. The young people, they want fashion, they love to be fashion designer. Sometimes the parents refuse to give them chance to become fashion designer or to go make education in fashion. Because in our country, fashion is not like the nice way to get money or the nice way to make to get diploma. That's who we need to make this industry, this school or this university real for the education. They're beginning to know that's true, you know, for that economic by education, economic by this university, and we are in. Because the World Bank is with me. They are trying to do it. We are trying to build the school, okay, in Niger, but only the mentality is not like we want. But I think for all the things you want to do now, we talk about COVID-19 in English, or we talk about the problem we have today. Everybody do masks. We know we have big schools here in Africa. They are going to doing only masks. And they said, because they don't have money to do you know, my English is not very good. You understand what I say?
Yes, we can understand you.
My English is so bad. I want to talk more to everybody supposed to understand what I'm supposed to see about. We talk about education, and I talk about.
I think, again, one of the challenges in Africa is the temperamental internet.
With my phone. I'm with my phone, that's why, you know?
Okay.
And
Yes.
this university are going to do it, that we need each of you for this kind of education and for this part of to see how is fashion industry is not like textile or jewelry or sewing or production, is also education. It's not education to understand how fashion is, how this industry is. We can't really grow African fashion industry. That's why we are so happy. In this COVID business, I don't know if you know, I make maybe 200,000 masks.
So everybody, guys, is actually, even Mr. Alphadi's, as you know, as a top designer, he is making the mask also. But again, one of the things that
I make 200,000 masks with 300 young designers here in Mali, and we make Alphadi masks, and we give free to 12 African countries.
Wow, that's incredible. That's incredible. This internet is playing up, and I'm sure it seems like someone is trying to reach Mr. Alphadi.
Nigeria, Ghana, Mali.
So guys, please bear with us as we deal with the temperamental internet around, because both Tosin, Yoanna, and Mr. Alphadi are in Africa right now, and so they're having
that's the thing.
Connection.
Yes, and we are in social, and for this one we have managing person. Person have money. Our big what I can say it in English. He put money on fashion. He put money on me to do these masks and to make this distribution of all this country and this kind of things, also to give a chance. They don't have job with this time because COVID-19, and now with the mask they give this school can do this one things, you know.
Yes.
That's what I mean.
Yes, I do. Mr. Alphadi, I'm going to pause you for a second because I also want to come to the issue of not the issue, what you mentioned about the federation, the fashion federation. I think that is very important. One of the things that we're hearing here also with Mr. Alphadi is that his access to funds, guys, and understanding that the funds that he has access to, he really wants to disperse that throughout Africa, that everybody can benefit from the funds that he has access to. And he's saying that one, in terms, and correct me if I'm wrong, Mr. Alphadi, you're saying that even with the university, what has been the challenge is the mentality in people embracing that university, understanding that we can have our university or Central St. Martin or Parsons School of Design right here in Africa. You don't have to go abroad. You can do it.
Exactly. We have Parsons School, and we have also FIT of New York. They call me. We have also big school in France in fashion. All this kind of big school, I go there. They know me, and they want to help me to do the school in Niger. And the thing is, only I talk about the mentality of our government. We give me the land. They give me the land, and the World Bank give me the money too. And we are in the fighting with them because they know and understand for the school. And I said to them, this school is the real one you're supposed to make and you're supposed to do. And COVID-19 came now, and I stopped everything. I'm here in Mali. I think education for me, for young designer, and also for young who want to make fashion, is very important for African to do it and to stay home. It's like our federation. The federation is not like very strong because we are not all time together. And we're supposed to make it, and we're supposed to be together to do this federation. But this school came by my festival. In my festival, the government see me, they help me, they give us money, but they give us also force to make school education. They see our work and they said, wow, African designer can do this one. I said to them, oh yes, African designer is not like the things do. They make design for industry. They make the design to make production. They make design also to, sometimes the person no go school. They do only the things like this. And that is the way I'm going to university for English. I want to talk to you in right English, and everybody can understand what I want to say.
Understand you. We can, Mr. Alphadi, let me ask you.
Yes, but
what is Mr. Alphadi?
I know my friend. I am conference guy in French, everywhere in the world in French. But in English, I can't say what I want to say, and everybody talk, but I know understand plenty things with you. I'm so happy to be with you, and I want English in Africa. English in Africa, like French is the big part in Arabic. I speak Arabic. I speak English. The things French and English. I want to learn more, and everybody's supposed to know what we're supposed to do. Our continent is a big continent. Our continent is a rich continent. Education is very important for this part of fashion. Education is very important to know how fashion can help this continent. And the fashion industry is not only textile. Fashion industry is everything. Fashion industry is everything. Is beauty. Is men, women beauty. But if we talk about beauty, all the Muslims want to kill us because only they don't understand.
Yes. Let me pause you for a second, Mr. Alphadi, because I think it's so important. You mentioned some valuable things just now that in terms of even mentioning the textile industry, and Africa is known for the textile industry, and oftentimes, even that, as Yoanna mentioned, that people would prefer to go and import instead of using it, from locally. I know a very famous Nigerian fashion designer at the moment, Kenneth Issy, who is getting international acclaim, highly respected in Paris, was just incredible. I know Naomi Campbell has worked very closely with Kenneth also. And one of the things that he does, that even though he does go to Italy to do some work in terms of producing fabric, he also does all all the weaving is done locally, which is incredible. Tosin, I want to come to you of looking at, just to give your views on the collective spirit that needs to exist between designers and fashion events around Africa. Tell us a little bit more, your view on that, before we talk about the Federation.
Sorry, can you repeat? I really didn't hear the question.
So, because I know as an incredible fashion designer, an amazing fashion designer, highly respected by all the fashion designers, you know, across Africa, and being an incredible stylist that you are, who helped to make all of these fashion designers, you know, events come together. Okay. I know you have an inside sort of angle and input regarding the collective spirit that fashion events need, and people who are organizers of big fashion events need to do in order to come together. You have a, you know, you have a behind the scenes and inside information on what can bring people an insight and what can bring these organizations together. Tell us more about that, please.
Okay, where do I start from? I might probably go a little philosophical, but I'll try as much as possible to be very brief about this conversation.
By the way, you did study philosophy, didn't you?
Yes, I did. Okay, as humans, we are prone to protecting our own selfish interest. Standard. Very, very, very important to note that. But also at the same time, I feel, yes, it's good to have a lot of shows, but we should also understand, I mean, like Yoanna talked about the whole pandemic that hit the world by storm, that right now it's time for everyone to really tidy up their homes. It is not going to be about shows again. As much as the shows are good for buzz and press and boosting the designer's ego, it has to be done with proper business, where you have proper buyers, you have proper investors, you have proper press. And it's not just press talking about you, but press seeing deeper than that what you're showing. I think one of my favorite press people is Kathy Horan, and I love how I mean, let me not even go too far. In Nigeria here, there's a guy called Keito Nwokedi. Keito gives the best fashion reviews, and I have to give it to him. And like I said, because of the pandemic that hit the world by storm, it is going to be a totally different ball game if there's ever going to be a fashion season. I mean, I'm hearing people are starting to put up virtual shows and virtual presentations of how to do their collections. Models are getting virtual representations as well. A lot of things will change, and it's not going to be the whole glitz and the whole glamour. It is business. It is time for business. It is time for you to create things that people will buy, things that are not defined by season. It is time for you to create things that go beyond the buzz of, oh, I love that piece, but how sustainable is it?
So let me ask you then, Tosin, because in terms of, you know, bringing these different fashion events together, the different fashion weeks, and bringing them together, you know, to be part of this, the Federation, that obviously, you know, that evidently based on what Mr. Alphadi is saying, that has access to so much funds and respect on the international, you know, in the international scene. What do you think are some of those challenges? Why are people, in addition to being so protective of whatever it is that they want to protect, what do you think are other challenges that, what's causing other people to not want to be so together and be so overtly supportive of each other?
Because people are by nature selfish and protective of their space. I don't want to have a situation whereby I have my own show, there is a following, I have my own crowd, and then someone from somewhere wants to say, okay, you know what, I'm willing to give you so and so figure, but I'll have to take over. Nobody wants to do that. Everybody wants to call their own shots. Yes. Especially when you're in a space where in a space where people already are aware of your show and they know the impact you bring to the table. It might not be general impact in the sense where it helps the designer. It might help the designer with like polishing up their ego and putting their names out there. But in the business side of things, is it really helping at the end of the day? No. No one would want a situation whereby they're being told what to do. especially when in a way you are already established. Regardless of whatever funds you're bringing, nobody wants a situation whereby they're being bossed around. And I think that's the reason why we can't have like a unified show. Maybe a unified calendar, yes. But in a situation whereby someone else wants to take over someone's show, humanly speaking, I like to be as practical as possible. Well, especially within that African context. It is going to be very difficult.
Yoanna, you want to say something, Yoanna? Go ahead, please.
I think another reason why it's difficult for people in the industry to collaborate is because from the onset, the three things that make up a collaboration: your role, your responsibility, and reward.
Yes.
Sometimes, if that isn't clear from the onset, it's difficult to find a common ground where everybody can say, this is what I bring to the table, here's my role, here's what I'm going to be responsible for, and here is the reward. And often that reward part is always the issue. How much I put my sweat in, this is what I should get out of it. I brought this on. I think when you're able to clearly identify partner A, partner B, this is my role, what I'm going to bring to the table, and here's how we complement with each other, I think it'll be easier. But
let me ask you, Yoanna. Yoanna, let me ask you something. Actually, I'm going to break it down. I want to ask George about this because I know he's very much about understanding as quite academic also. George, Yoanna mentioned three very important points just now: role, responsibility, reward, the three R's. Which one do you think should come first in motivating these different fashion platforms to come together? Because I see exactly what Yoanna is mentioning. What do you think about which one do you think should come first in order to motivate them to come together? Say to be part of the federation. So tell us, George, please share with your thoughts.
At this present time, if you don't come together, you're going to fail. Everybody is going to fail. Everybody needs collaborations right now. You can never survive without collaborations, especially right now. And especially that's why I'm saying that this is a very good opportunity. And I don't know whether it's only me saying this, but people need to say it. And that's why I come on this show. I'm a very, very reserved person. Opportunity in Europe, opportunity, in England here. Look at, for example, in England here, with this COVID situation, because about 20 years ago or so, everybody closed all the factories that are producing and start making everything in China. Everything is produced in China and all that. An advanced country like here, they can't even produce the scrubs and, face masks and, enough PPE. Because all the technical, all the skilled, all the factories, they're gone. The position Africa is right now, because now, if they want to start, it's going to take them a good 10 years to be able to get those skills back. So right now, we are more or less on the starting line together with anybody. And one thing is that in Africa, for example, we have, we have population. We have lots of youths that are very educated. They're very kind of thing. Look at what, mostly Alphadi is saying, that, people speak French, speak English. I'll give you an example. In Nigeria alone, 95% of Nigerians speak one kind of English, whether pidgin or something like that.
Exactly.
When you go down to most of these manufacturing, they send you to like Singapore to go and monitor kind of things from all these, or China. You end up that because the different dialect, different kind of, you will end up having about 2-3 interpreters because they don't speak English. And by the time when you translate what you want to do, it comes out to something different. But you won't have that problem in Africa. Africa also, strategically, it's very close to Europe.
No, exactly.
So we can produce. We have all the raw materials, as Monsieur Alphadi is saying. We have it there. We all need to do. We need to go into the manufacturing.
Exactly.
Manufacture textile. We have skills. We have all these kind of things. We manufacture textiles, manufacturing garments. Let them use us, as producing.
Right.
Don't.
But there's a collective, as you said.
Of course. And
there's a collective that a point that you're definitely pushing for, which is very important. And everyone, you're very right, George. You're not the, it's not new that it is clear.
Something very important. No relationship between Niger and Nigeria. We are neighbor. No relationship between, because you speak French and Nigeria speak English. I never go there. That is the things, the part of the fashion industry can be more. We can use all Nigeria fashion designers in Niger. They have money, they have petrol, they have oil. In Senegal, in Mali, no Nigeria person come here. That's bad. We're supposed to be together. Language is a barrier. Language is a very big barrier with us. Very important.
Yes. And going back to what you're saying, George, about, and what you reinforced just now, Mr. Alphadi, and what Pepper was saying, Yoanna was saying about, look, in what has appeared to be an obstacle, because people either don't want to, they are trying to assess what is the reward they're going to get, or as Tosin said, they don't want to relinquish power. They don't want to, as a result, don't want to take on the responsibility. But as you said, George, at the end of the day, it doesn't matter which one comes from, reward, responsibility, or role. You will not survive without being together. Otherwise, the Western world developer will always come and take and exploit. And unfortunately, as Mr. Alphadi has been emphasizing over and over, that the role of the government in ensuring that they protect what is ours and keep what is inside Africa, so that we can continue to produce and encourage and create this sort of system, whether it being funding opportunities or whatever those opportunities might be. It really is up to this industry to really come together and work together to make the change happen, because we have all the resources we need. Mr. Alphadi, I want to ask you about the federation, the Fashion Federation. How can one, is there a website? Is there a social media? How can one find the information for the federation?
That's the problem we have today. I said to you, we have some died, some is here. This federation beginning since 1994. And he gone maybe 5 years. After that, in Africa is very strong. We have all the paper for that. We are going to make structure together, and we no have website. That's the problem. But we honor to do it, and now to make the construction with the buyers. They want to help us to make this federation truly and to make it stronger, and to with the young.
Can someone try to call
like you and like other.
Connection. Monsieur Alphadi, are you there? Sorry, guys. So we're having some internet connection again with Mr. Alphadi there. But as you heard from Mr. Alphadi just now, that there actually is a federation. Unfortunately,
the things is really, this federation is really here. They make another federation in Cote d'Ivoire. This federation is a fashion week. Isabelle Ano is a president for this fashion. They have maybe 20 fashion week in Africa, but I think Ghana is with them. I don't know if Nigeria is with them. And South Africa want to come with them to make this federation for the fashion week. But right. I am the president now for the fashion federation.
This is the things really we're supposed to meet. And
okay, Mr. Alphadi, bear me. Pause 1 second, Mr. Alphadi. So tell me can you clarify what is the federation that you're the president of? Tell us the name of that federation. Internet connection, guys. So can you hear me, Mr. Alphadi? I can hear you. Can you hear us? Mr. Alphadi, can you hear us?
Yeah, I can hear you, but the voice is go down.
Okay. I want to ask you, so can you tell us the federation, can you tell us the name of the federation, please?
The name?
Yes.
The name is Federation African de Créateurs de Mode.
FFC, Federal African Creation, Federation for African Creation. I can send you all the information about that.
Okay, please, and we'll post that. Also, tell us, so so you mentioned that there's for the federation, the actual federation, what, for someone, is there a membership? How can one sign up for the membership? What does one have to do to become part of the federation?
I don't understand. Okay, go ahead and understand your question.
Okay, the federation, the fashion federation that you talked about, you mentioned that this federation is for fashion and the entire creative industry, including the fashion industry. How can one get in touch with the federation to become a member and find out?
We have the big member, the older one. They are the member of the Haute Couture Federation, and we have all the designers, the younger one. They came, they said, they wrote letter, they said they want to be part of the federation. Okay, and we have the person. She's named Kadi Diallo. She's in Ivory Coast, Abidjan. We have all the information about it. I can tell the information because only the federation is not going where he's sick. The federation is very sick.
Okay. So right now, so there need to be. So you're saying that the federation has not been very active, and so there's a need to restructure because a lot of the members unfortunately have passed, and so there need to be a restructuring of the federation I understand. But so audience, when Mr. Alphadi sends us the information for the federation, we will be able to share that information on our website. Also, again, one of the benefits of being at the federation, in addition to bringing the collective spirit, everyone working together, is the access to resources that this federation that brings everybody, and that's really important. And it is supported by very influential people in the fashion industry across Africa, and also by the big fashion institutions around the world that having an icon like Mr. Alphadi is able to have access to, and that's really, really important. Pepper, I want to come to you. Pepper, are you connected? The internet connection is acting up today, and it's unfortunate. This is one of the downsides of one of the hurdles in Africa in terms of dealing with the temperamental internet connection. Pepper, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Excellent, thank you. Thank you, Pepper. I want you to, in terms of helping, because Mr. Alphadi had mentioned, and all of us have mentioned about the need for government support to be stronger in supporting the fashion industry. As George had mentioned, that one of the big difference between how the fashion industry is treated here in the UK in comparison to Africa is that the government recognizes the large percentage that the fashion industry contributes to the overall economy in this country. So what you being so very much aware of the fashion industry and dealing very closely with various governmental and quasi-governmental entities, what advice can you offer to encourage the government around Africa to be more supportive of the fashion industry?
Well, I feel like this is a conversation that we've had multiple times. I think that, and this just kind of echoes a lot of what everybody has said, there needs to be now is the time for all the key stakeholders in the industry to really come together and have a dialogue with the government. Because really you can't go far without government, unfortunately. I know that in Africa, everybody is their own government. The truth is you need policy and you need capital. And the two kind of go hand in hand if you really want to see any type of change that needs to be seen in the industry. And so one thing that I also know that poses a challenge when you're trying to engage the government is the lack of data. So oftentimes you find that, and I've been guilty of this as well, is that you have a very long list of all the things that is wrong, the infrastructure, funding issues, and the list goes on and on and on. But then we don't come with data. We don't come with actual facts and figures to actually say, well, this is where there are success stories, and this is where any kind of intervention has helped the industry, and here's how we've seen people have been able to overcome these challenges, and here's what we need to go forward. So I think that that's going to happen when everybody who has been active in the industry comes together with all their different data points and presents.
Pardon us, guys. Yoanna is having some internet connection there again. Please bear with us this afternoon as we try to get our panelists all connected.
Government, but I don't know if you can hear me at all.
I can hear you. We can hear you. Okay. We can hear you now, Yoanna. Okay, Thank you.
Great. So yeah, I feel that a lot of the issues that we face, we don't have the data. We don't have, and really the data it shouldn't be on our onus for those of us who are practitioners in the industry. It really should come from the government. But because there's so much of the industry is so informal, there's so many gaps and so many gray areas, we really don't know what is going on. But with the list that we do have, I feel like that's a very good place to start when you're trying to engage any type of policymaker or any type of government. I think these are things that they're not unaware of our issues. They're not unaware of our infrastructure issues. They're not unaware of the fact that, we can't get access to funding. They're not unaware that it's difficult to gain access to markets. All of these things are things that they're clearly aware of. But I guess now it's a matter of, now that the oil is an issue, and it's like we're so dependent on these things, how do you diversify your economy? So first and foremost, how do you diversify your economy? And you can only do that through empowering your SMEs and empowering the creative industries. Look at other, like you mentioned, in the UK, in Europe, they really value the creative industry. So being able to show case studies of how the creative industries have provided jobs, employment, revenue, all of these different things, I think is a good place to start when you're trying to communicate to any type of government body.
Thank you so very much, Yoanna. And guys, we're coming down to it, and we have another 10 minutes, and we certainly want to look at some of the questions that are there. But what Pepper mentioned just now is so important indeed, and the necessities of why government should really think about giving so much more value and consideration to the fashion industry, particularly as far as diversifying their portfolio, looking at various ways of being able to keep the economy sustained. And as I pointed out very early, and by what George had mentioned, is that the fashion industry is a big part of the creative industry, and the creative industry in the UK is considered the fastest growing industry, and it's the most sustainable industry in the United Kingdom. And I think in most developed countries, that is the case, whereby just because of the entrepreneurial opportunities that are there, and it's clear to see that exists also in the fashion industry in Africa. We mentioned earlier Tosin, who's the Style Infidel, who's no longer with us because of internet connection, guys, mentioned that that while there are lots of designers out there who are wanting to pursue becoming fashion designers, the truth of the matter, if you don't have your understanding what your purpose is, understanding and ensuring that you have the right business model and know exactly what your target audience is and what you're producing is of quality, all of that will fail. And it's important, as George mentioned, that in order to survive, even after COVID-19, understanding exactly what the challenges are for the fashion industry as far as technology, oftentimes one might find that it's much easier for companies of similar interests and even similar, are targeting the same market of similar products, similar model, might find that it's much easier for them to work together and be able to survive that, and ensuring that that e-commerce is very much part of their business model. Otherwise, you know, the chances are definitely going to fail because the competition is going to be. Am I right, Yoanna, in saying that the competition is going to be even stiffer after COVID-19 is all settled? Is that correct? Don't you think so?
Yeah, I think it's really going to be about which countries were able to respond to the pandemic in a way that provided sustainability long term. So I think that, and the only way we can stay up ahead is to build our internal capacity. Without that, then we will, you know, be at the mercy of anyone right now. So it's really about how our country is responding, how our industry is responding, so that we don't fall behind. I feel like there's a really amazing opportunity that COVID-19 has presented. We can accelerate so much of what, and as George said, this is a time to kind of bridge all the gaps we've seen in our industry over the years. So if we don't get on this ship now and start making the right actions and the right, you know, decisions, we may miss the boat for a pretty long time.
Yes. George, do you also feel that in terms of that the competition is going to be even more intense after this, you know, COVID-19 is settled down? What do you think?
It's going to be very intense in a way because the customers, everybody's going to be like trying to run for a small market because, as I said, disposable, you know, people have more conscience now. They have been more conscious because of the situations that's happened. So it's going to be more or less smart buying now.
Yeah.
You don't need to have 20 T-shirts if only about 3-4 can serve you.
Exactly.
And then you have to have, you know, the quality is going to be there. Also, you have to have more functions in a certain way with anything that you need. So there are going to be the questions: do I need it? Why do I need it? What benefit will I get from it? And that's the same thing that you know, Yoanna was also saying in a certain way, which is exactly which I was trying to say within collaborations and all that. People need to, especially within this manufacturers, especially within Africa, we're not only supposed to be saying we want to go and be manufacturing in China or in Turkey. We have to manufacture. If we want to be serious in fashion, to make money, to create jobs, to do everything, we have to manufacture there in our continent, use our resources, get all our experts abroad, tell them to come in over. You know, I mean, I believe I had these conversations with you sometimes a week ago, and I said, look, if you look at in America, there is also, you know, there's a guy called Dwayne Edwards. He's the one that actually designed the Air Force One, and you know, he's made a lot of money for Nike and Air Jordan. He's the one that designed it, Air Force One, Air Force Two. It's made well over 1.5 billion. These guys have, you know, he has his own college now. It's called Pencil. You guys that you have internet there, Google him out. It's called Pencil, Pen as P-N, and then Soul, sole of a shoe. It's called Academy, and he also trained people like Mr. Fedis, inside a way to how they could within that. Somebody like that would give anything to come to somewhere like Africa to help out. So there are lots of people that they will be really willing, especially this time. But the way we have to go, we have to manufacture, use our resources to which we have there to then manufacture these goods and get the experts. And you know, all these other students, all these, you know, the kids that they're trying to do fashion and all that. Instead of everybody just standing by themselves, people have to work collectively. When you need to go and manufacture, you have, you know, about 3-4 people comes together, they manufacture as a unit.
Yes.
So it will be much cheaper. So when you go to somebody and says, you go to a manufacturer, you know, if you can't say to them, oh, I only want 24 pieces. But if you go as, you know, as a collective, as one unit, it will be much cheaper for you, because then you can order that, oh, you want to go about 2,000 in a certain way. So those are the kind of things that was going to like help. And also manufacturers, you know, there's no way that they could be able to like survive. They need to collaborate with designers and have, you know, they have to have like a business in between. So they have to have stake within designers. that the designers will be the creative kind of people. They will manufacture the goods, and they need to also work with textile factory. So all these people need to work together. And then we have our very brain e-commerce people, like with the internet and all that. And then they be able to then sell it around the world.
Yes.
George, that is the way.
I'm going to pause you there for a second. Sorry so much, and thank you so much. Guys, we're coming down to the end now. We've had an amazing conversation this afternoon, guys. We talked about so many different things, understanding how, you know, that there is a federation that's already there, and, you know, for that represents the entire creative industry, not just the fashion industry. And so there is an opportunity to do great things there, understanding that, you know, that we can only move forward by being together, and how important that is in terms of survival, understanding the role that e-commerce plays in that, understanding the role that to ensure that, you know, that your home, your business is in order to even be able to compete. Understanding that, guess what, all the suppliers, instead of outsourcing, your suppliers are actually right there there in Africa. You don't need to go outside in order to do that. Guess what, look at even your high street brands, look at your big fashion brands. They're right there. They're coming to Africa to get their supplies. So why do you feel like do you need to go get supply from somewhere else where the quality is much poorer? And so you're not able to, you're not giving back to your communities. You're not giving back to Africa. And eventually, as Yoanna pointed out, without having understanding the value and purpose, all of that then, you know, your business collapses. I want to thank every single person for joining us today, for tuning in. I want to take a very special thank you to, on behalf of Princess Ronke Ademuyi, the founder of Africa Fashion Week London, to George Adesegun, to Monsieur Alphadi, the icon Monsieur Alphadi. You're just incredible. Pepper, I thank you so much for taking the time out, in spite of having to do with the internet issues. You remained, you know, just resilient and being here with us. Thank you so very, very much, Yoanna. The Style Infidel, unfortunately, Tosin's internet did not, you know, was not able to withstand, and so he wasn't able to continue the session with us. But I know, you know, he's an incredible man doing incredible work across Africa and especially Nigeria. And I want to encourage all of you guys to check them out on Instagram. Yoanna, can you please give us your Instagram handle, please? How can someone find you on Instagram and your social media?
Thank you so much. I am in the car. I have another appointment.
Yes.
That's why.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Alphadi. Thank you so much for joining us. We will be in touch.
And see you in touch. And thank you so much for the call. Bye-bye.
Yes.
See you.
Bye-bye. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
I think, Yoanna, are you there? George, how can someone find you? Also, tell us how we can reach out to you, and one, because I know you're always so readily available to give advice. How can someone reach you?
They can reach me on my email, which is gaade16@aol.com, and also you can go at George Adesegun on my Instagram to get me on my Instagram.
Thank you.
So I'll just like quickly drop this. I've been for over a year now. I've been trying to, start up a very, 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 very big denim company in Africa that's going to challenge any big denim companies like Levi's and all that. All the resources, everything is going to be, within in Africa. I've been trying to look for collaborators, designers, and people that we're going to design them, manufacture them in Africa, and sell them around the world. So those are the kind of areas that I've been also working in, in the past year and all that kind of things.
So guys, look out for the George Adesegun denim line. It's coming. It's coming. So all these big manufacturers out there and when George says that, literally just send him a plane ticket, he'll be there. This is how incredibly generous he is. He would just, honestly, he's not even talking about wages. He's talking about just really wanting to give back and give back to the continent, give back to young designers, give back to just sharing his talent.
I work with the textile companies. I work, because of my experience there, I work with the shoe companies. I work with the manufacturers. I work with designers, collaborate with anybody that wants to come, just for the goods of Africa. It doesn't matter whether you're from South Africa, you're from East Africa, you are from North Africa, anywhere in its own way. And bring other people as well that can also help.
Thank you, George. And for those of you, again, just to remind you that you would want to have him on your side in guiding you in that, because this is a gentleman who is a master at his craft. He's freelance with all the big fashion houses. He is so connected. Anyone in fashion that you could think about high fashion, he's connected with them. He knows them. I won't drop any names because I know it's going to be, but I tell you, you would want to stay in touch with him. Just incredible. So George, thank you so much. It was such an honor to have you here. We appreciate you so very much. We look forward to talking to you some more offline, and we look forward to having you on our masterclass. Everyone tuning in there, we will have the Africa Fashion Week London masterclasses that will be running shortly. You'll see promotion for these. We're also in as far as trying to do whatever we can to educate emerging and established designers and helping them be much more aware of how the industry operates and how to reposition their business for success. We are going to be running the Africa Fashion Week London online course. This is in partnership with the prestigious Parsons School of Design, Technology and Design program and Henley Business School. This will be launched shortly. I think it starts next, it's going to be launched next week, the promotion. You will see the promotion. There are wonderful scholarship opportunities available also. You don't want to miss this. It's going to be incredible. It's an intensive course for 6 days. You get it's a internationally recognized, certified program. So this is quite an opportunity, and it's very affordable. Take that from me. So thank you all so very much for joining us this afternoon, everyone. Please stay safe, keep well, and join us again for the next Web Talk series that is tomorrow, starting at 3 o'clock on Zoom. Please register online, go to our website, and it's also going to be live streamed on Facebook. George, thank you so very much again.
You're welcome.
Talk very soon.
Thanks to everybody. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Goodbye, everyone.
Bye-bye.